Hey, Parkside Elementary. My name is Jay, and I think 2 years ago, I came and talked to you guys about cars, and we learned about brakes and friction and things like that. And this year it's tough to do that because of COVID, and so we're gonna do something, and we're gonna try to show you that stuff through video. So this is where I work. We're called Carmedix, and we're called Carmedix because we're kind of like medical doctors for cars. And I'm wondering how many of you guys came in and on a school bus today, or if your parents or somebody drove you to school, maybe you came in a car that looked like one of these. Like this is an SUV. Maybe you have an SUV, or maybe your parents have a car, and here's another SUV. And we don't have any buses in our lot because, and I'll show you why, we fix a lot of cars here. And I just kind of want to give you a tour. See how we have these lifts. And what they do is they lift up cars in the air so that we can work on them. All right, one thing that's really, really important about cars is what's called brakes. So brake is what makes a car stop. Without brakes, you know, we'd be driving and we would keep going because brakes uses friction to stop the vehicle, and without friction, this world would be a crazy, crazy mess. Now, I want to do something. I wonder how good you guys are at spelling. So I want to see if you guys know how to spell brakes. If you don't, we're going to learn, and we're going to ask one of these guys. Let's test them out. All right, Matt, spell brakes.
B-R-A-K-E-S.
All right, so that was Matt. He was one of our technicians, and that's what you call a technician, is what you call somebody that fixes cars. So he's very good at what he does, and he actually knows how to spell as well. So we learned how to spell brakes. That's the type of, that's how you stop. So B-R-A-K-E-S. There's another word, brakes, which is B-R-E-A-K-S. And when a car brakes, then we need a technician to fix it, right? All right, guys, this is what I want you to do. I want you to take both hands, put them together, and then run really fast. As hard as you can, as fast as you can. And then put it against your face. What do you feel? You should feel heat. And what do we call that? This is friction. You see how when you put your hands together like this, it's tough to do, especially when your hands are really dry. So when there's friction, there's heat, and it's kind of something stops you from moving it. And that's exactly how brakes work. And Matt, our master technician, is going to explain how exactly that happens.
All right, so how the braking system works in any standard vehicle. You have what's called a brake rotor or a disc rotor that the wheel attaches to. This is a brake caliper and the brake caliper brackets, and here are the brake pads. So when you're in forward momentum, reverse momentum, the fluid from the brake master cylinder flows down this line into this brake caliper. There's pistons inside that once the fluid comes in, it compresses and squeezes this rotor to slow the vehicle down.
I'm gonna put this metal on something that's spinning very, very and moving very, very fast. Look at that. See how it's smoking and it's grinding down? You see that? That's friction at work. All right, so we're gonna turn this on again. So let's think about this machine like a car. And let's pretend these are the wheels on the car. All right, so let's say your parents are stepping on the gas pedal to make the wheels turn, and you're moving, and the wheels are moving now. And then your parents let go of the gas pedal, but even though they let go of it and the machine is off, it's still moving. It's still moving because of perpetual motion. Now we're gonna use friction to stop the wheel. Your parents are applying the brake because we need to stop. Let's stop. we stopped it. That's exactly what happens when you press on the brakes. And you see how when we did that, it grinded off a bit of the end? And that's why when we use a lot of the brakes, you need to get new brakes because it'll run out of this metal part, it'll run out of this brake material, and then you need to get your brakes replaced. Okay, so we learned about brakes, we learned how to stop a vehicle. Now we're gonna learn something else, and we're gonna learn about hydraulics. So that's a fun word to say, right? So say it with me, hydraulics. And let's do another test. You know, Matt could spell brakes, but I wonder if we can get someone else to spell hydraulics. Let's learn how to spell that.
Hydraulics, hydraulics.
Okay, so now we know how to spell hydraulics. Well, do we need to see that again? Maybe we need to see that again.
Hydraulics, hydraulics.
All right, so hydraulics, what word do you see in the word hydraulics? I see the word hydro. And what does hydro mean? I mean, what does that remind you of? Maybe water? Maybe you need to, maybe you're dehydrated, which means you don't have enough water inside you. Or I need to stay hydrated, I need to drink enough water. So what that reminds me of is fluid. And in mechanical work and in technical work, we use fluid to use force and move things. So I'll give you an example. All right, here we see an SUV, and it's very, very big, and it's very, very heavy. So I would say this car might weigh as much as an elephant. And if you can imagine lifting an elephant, I'm sure it's hard to do that. So what we use is we use hydraulics to power and lift up this very heavy car. So we have what's called a lift. It's called an automotive lift because it lifts very heavy objects like this vehicle, and we use fluid to do that. We use hydraulics. So let's look in here. You see this container? It contains a bunch of fluid, all right? And it's connected to this wire, this hose. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna pump this fluid using this motor. It's gonna push this fluid through this line, and it goes all the way up to these cylinders. You see these black cylinders? And it fills it with fluid, and when the fluid becomes fuller and fuller, the cylinder will expand. So I'll show you. I'll push this button, and do you see the fluid going down? The fluid is going down, and the car is going up. It's lifting it with ease. The lift isn't struggling at all. It's lifting this very heavy car very, very easily. And you see the fluid going down. It's using the fluid and it's traveling up these lines here. And it's going up. And it's pushing this rod. The cylinder's going up because the fluid is forcing this cylinder rod out. And when a car is coming down like this, you see how the car is coming down? The fluid is coming out of the cylinders and it's refilling this tank. And that's why the car is coming down, because of hydraulics. All right, so here we see Chris turning the wheel back and forth. You see, we're turning the wheel back and forth. And when the wheel is turning back and forth, we actually see the front wheels turning back and forth. And if you guys are ever curious on how that works, we're about to show you right now. All right, so now we have the car on the lift. And now we're gonna walk under it. And now we're gonna see what happens when the wheel turns. All right, Daniel, turn the wheel. All right, you see it turning? All right, the other way. All right, so this right here is called a tie rod end. And you see it attaches right here. This is what's called a rack and pinion. And you see that right there? This is connected to the steering wheel that Daniel's turning. And this metal rod is turning a gear inside here, which is allowing the wheels to turn. So we actually replaced the rack and pinion, or what's called a steering gear, because it went bad. So we will show that to you now. All right, so here is what's called the steering gear. This is what allows your car to turn left and right. And this side attaches to your tire here, and this side attaches to your tire. And this right here, if you turn the steering wheel, this will turn, and there's gears in here that'll move it back and forth. And again, you see these lines right here? What have we been talking about? What do you think these are? These are hydraulic lines. There's fluid that goes in and out, and that's what's able to move these gears back and forth. All right, guys, so we've been covering a lot of stuff, and now we want to talk about torque.
T-O-R-Q-U-E.
Okay, so that was kind of fast, so let's slow that down.
T-O-R-Q-U-E.
All right, so the torque is a rotational force. So just think about a wheel, think about tires. There's so many mechanics where torque is rotational. So just think about anything that's a rotational force, and that's torque. And we're gonna get into more of that. All right, so this is a lug nut. This holds on the tire. So this goes on here, and then we twist it, and you see how we twist it. What do we say that was rotational? What kind of force is this? This is called torque. So if this little thing called a lug nut need to hold on this big tire, then we are going to need a lot of torque to hold it on. So this, I can't exert enough torque. See, I'm not strong enough to exert enough torque to tighten this when a tire is on here, because if I just do it by my hand, which has low torque because I'm not strong enough and no one is, then the tire will actually fall off because this will come off. See, guys, my hand can't twist it fast enough or as strong enough as this machine right here. So this is high rotational torque, and we measure that in what's called foot-pounds. All right, so spin it again really quick. You see how fast that spins? There's a lot of power behind that. All right, so we started this Jeep up because we're done with the brakes, and you see the engine is here. This is where all the power is made, is in the engine. But if we put the car in gear, the wheels will move. You see the wheel moving like that? Even the engine's right up there. There's rods and gears connected so that the power and the torque is coming over here. So torque is once again a rotational force, and there's a lot of torque in this wheel. All right, guys, it was super fun sharing these things with you. Hopefully you learned something today. Anytime, we're just right down the street. So if you guys want to come visit, I can definitely show you guys around and show you everything in person. And if you want to become a technician one day, it's a very good career choice. It's very fun what we do. We get to work with a lot of, force, torque, hydraulics every single day. And it's fun because you don't do the same boring things every day in front of a computer. And so we can even show you, Mike is using a bench again to make a tool. So we get to do some fun things here, and I would love to have you come and visit us.